So with the latest episode of Summer Pockets, the butterflies we often see get explained to us better, and also we get a deeper dive into who Al is to the point where she becomes unquestionably one of the best characters we've probably been introduced to on the show. So to start off with the recap, because Takahara is so invested in Al, and she is in this place where she wants to or is willing to be in a relationship, but she doesn't necessarily have the capacity to, she kind of goes back and forth regarding whether or not to let Takahara in. He recognizes that she's sleepy because of all her night work, so she rests on his lap and people take notice, including Shiroha. And, it leads to people taking more and more note and kind of giving them alone time. For granted, Takahara is not a local. He is the grandson of Grandma Kotu, who is a notable figure, but he comes and goes between summers, and he probably hasn't been there for quite some time. But at the same time, he's spending all of his time not chasing after O, but definitely showing his interest, and he's flirty. He's showing up while she's doing her stuff in the mountains, and when he decides to touch one of the butterflies, he gets a very traumatic memory, which Al thankfully keeps him from succumbing to since he almost offed himself. But in him experiencing this kind of makes him want to double down on being there for Alex, since while she's built up a tolerance, there's also this idea in his mind that just because you're used to this doesn't mean you should have to go through it alone, which is a very sweet statement. But at the same time, you can tell that being that this is not just Al's butter, but this has been her family's burden and tradition for who knows how long, she's kind of uncomfortable, but, Takahara's persistent, and it's one of those things. If it's the right person, the persistence is admirable, charming, maybe even get you little butterflies in your own stomach. Though, if it's not the right person, persistence can be very alarming, threatening, and something that can make you defensive to the point that offense can be the best defense. But Takahara, again, sweet person, so she's initially uncomfortable, but it seems like she grows to appreciate his efforts. And because of this, she lets him in more and more, not just talking about the work that she does and how her family's involved, but she also introduces Takahara to Ai. Ai is Ao's older sister, specifically older twin sister, who is currently in a coma. And thanks to Grandma Takatu, Ao is not only doing her duty because it's what her family does, but she believes that one of the butterflies may hold Ai's memory, and with that, she could potentially revive her sister. And she makes it very clear when she's talking to Takahara that as much as she may have feelings for him, as much as she may want to experience certain things with him, she can't really let go and focus on that until she handles the situation with her sister. So with that in mind, Takahara's all in. He decides to double down, and this is when Grandma Katu gets further involved in the form of them finally going through her things and finding something that could be helpful for Ai. And it seems that it's going to be kind of the jumping point of maybe Grandma Katu's journeys and what she means to this island starting to come about, rather than her just being the potential catalyst for Takahara coming in and then kind of being almost abandoned afterwards. So getting to the review section, it's only highlights. And first off, I just want to talk about the butterflies. And granted, they have a specific name, but my tongue is not, it's not dexterous enough to even try. So we're just going to reference them as the butterflies. And what I like is the way that they're building their presence on the show, so that they're not just these cute little beautiful things that pop around, but they have sort of a duality to them. They could be like we saw in the first arc, where they hold someone's memories, and if you fulfill those memories, or rather fulfill what they want to do before they pass on to the next life, they can float away, or else they can revisit you and sort of give you some type of comfort. But at the same time, as on in this episode, they can be something that could lead to dangerous situations that can lead to you being harmed or rather harming yourself. And just making it so that these aren't just cute little things for this anime that often seems very sweet. I like that approach. On top of that, I also like the fact that, as we just mentioned with the end of the recap, that Grandma Katu is not just this random figure anymore who barely traveled and everything, but we didn't really hear much or get to know that much about. Now, with her showing that she had an actual influence on this island, that she had a presence, and that her being Grandma Katu wasn't just because she was old, but because these people had legitimate relationship with her, it expands on who she is. It expands on what perhaps Takahara's family means to the island, and also kind of explains why he's been accepted so quickly and so easily. And I would leave off with, when it comes to Ao, I love the fact that she is so well-rounded as she is, and especially the way how she's well-rounded. She is very knowledgeable, straight up smart. She's someone that definitely has some desires, including potentially being with women, experimenting in some areas, but at the same time also is not against having a relationship. But she is smart enough also to recognize that, being that she's so emotionally, mentally invested in what's going on with her sister, she can't really give herself to Takahara to be a girlfriend, to be a lover, or whatever. And until things are handled with her sister, this is what she has to focus on. And I love that she's not trying to necessarily do it all, even though there's probably a part of her that wants to, because she recognizes that she can't really give herself to somebody or even share her life with somebody until this thing that is so important to her is handled. It's something I feel like we don't really see enough when it comes to girls and women in anime. I don't even think we see that often when it comes to boys or men. So for this show to have that, especially after what happened with the last arc, it's definitely surprising and deeply appreciated. Which is why overall, compared to Sword of the Demon Hunter, which comes out the same day, I feel like Summer Pockets has completed its redemption arc. And granted, who knows what could happen with the next girl that Takahara is interacting with, but as of now, with the first one and the third one doing well, he is hoping that we don't get a repeat of the second arc when it comes to Takahara likely going off to Shiroha, since at this point that's the only other woman we've seen him interact with any type of interest.